At the foothills of the Andes, in southern Peru, stretches an endless desert plateau, the Nazca Desert. These barren lands are spread out like a painting, stretching for kilometers. Stretches an endless desert plateau, the Nazca Desert. These barren lands are spread out like a painting, stretching for kilometers. On the surface, a scorching sun and silence reign. The heat reaches unbearable levels. But this silence hides a secret thousands of years old. A mystery lying deep, waiting to be solved. Gigantic shapes visible only from the sky make this desert even more mysterious. Figures etched into the earth standing as if drawn by a giant hand. Spiders, a massive spider figure clearly visible in the middle of the desert. Monkeys, a stylized drawing of a monkey. Hummingbirds, a depiction of a hummingbird gliding gracefully through the sky. Human figures, symbolic depictions of people, difficult to interpret. Hundreds of geometric lines and spirals accompany these figures. They stretch for kilometers, lines so straight and flawless as if drawn by a compass. These are known as the Nazca Lines, some of the largest and most impressive geoglyphs in the world. Who made them, why, and how? The answers to these questions are still not fully known. These questions are among the greatest archaeological mysteries of the modern world. The Nazca Lines have continued to fascinate scientists and researchers for centuries. The lines stand as if they are a message sent to the sky, perhaps to the gods, perhaps to future generations. First, in the 1920s, they were noticed when commercial flights began. Seen from the sky, these gigantic works of art revealed themselves in all their glory. When pilots saw these strange patterns stretching below, they struggled to understand what they were looking at. They were astonished. This discovery brought worldwide recognition to the Nazca Lines. These works, almost impossible to notice while walking on the ground, only make sense when viewed from above. It was as if they were hidden behind a veil of mystery. Traces of a forgotten civilization, lost in the infinity of the desert. Since that day, scientists and adventurers have flocked here from all over the world. They come to Nasca to solve this mystery, each one hoping to help shed light on this ancient enigma. But every new study brings new questions. It only adds to the complexity of this ancient puzzle. The Nazca Lines, like a riddle hard to solve, continue to keep their secrets. Thanks to the desert's dry climate, these lines have remained intact for 2,000 years, defying the relentless effects of time. These gigantic shapes lying in the silence of the Nazca Plateau stand as witnesses to a history thousands of years old. They are still whispering something. Perhaps the answers are hidden deep within the desert. The construction technique of the Nazca Lines. How these gigantic shapes were created has been a subject of curiosity for centuries. In fact, it is surprisingly simple. Although the methods used seem quite primitive compared to today's technology, the results are extraordinary. The reddish pebbles on the surface of the desert were scraped away, revealing the lighter-colored soil underneath. Although this process was done with simple tools, it required great precision and patience. This contrast made the lines clearly visible from the sky. Especially when viewed from above, the figures became fully visible thanks to this contrast. Despite their enormous size, the Nazca people used simple tools, wooden stakes and ropes to achieve perfect proportions. This precision shows how advanced their knowledge of mathematics and geometry was at the time. The lines are divided into three main categories: straight lines, geometric shapes, and figurative designs. Animal figures were created with a single continuous line. This required both artistic skill and careful attention. The secret to the line's preservation lies in the extremely dry and windless climate of the desert. These favorable conditions have allowed the lines to be preserved for thousands of years. If this region had been more humid, nothing would have remained of these works. Nature, in a way, collaborated to protect the Nazca people's secret. Even today, we are still trying to decipher the messages on this ancient canvas. Each line is evidence of the engineering and artistic understanding of the past. The Nazca people managed to create gigantic works from a perspective they could not see. This shows just how limitless their imagination and abilities were. This is an achievement that pushes the boundaries of human creativity. The Nazca Lines are a shared heritage of humanity. stretching from the past to the present. The Nazca Lines are massive shapes located in the arid lands of Peru, shrouded in mystery. In popular culture, these ancient drawings are most often associated with alien theories. These theories link the origin and purpose of the lines to visits from extraterrestrial beings. One of the most influential names in this field is the Swiss author Erich von Däniken. In his best-selling book Chariots of the Gods, Däniken claimed that these lines were landing strips for ancient astronauts, in other words, aliens. According to him, these gigantic structures were traces left on Earth by visitors from beyond our world. In his view, these massive shapes are not just simple drawings, but far more complex than what an ordinary ancient society could have created with the means of their time. This complexity, according to Däniken, was evidence of extraterrestrial intervention. Especially the astronaut figure, a shape resembling an astronaut, was the most discussed and debated evidence for this theory. For those who believe aliens visited Nasca, this figure became an important symbol. Von Däniken presented the fact that the lines can only be fully understood from the sky as clear evidence that they were made not for people on the ground, but for gods or aliens in the sky. He argued that the purpose of the lines was beyond the perception of ordinary people. This striking narrative transformed Nasca from just an archaeological site into a global center of mystery. In popular culture, many films and books have frequently associated the Nazca Lines with extraterrestrial beings, their visits and their interactions. However, scientists and archaeologists have always approached these speculative claims with great skepticism. To this day, no concrete or scientific evidence has been found that the Nazca Lines were made by aliens or have any connection to extraterrestrials. Many researchers believe that the astronaut figure actually represents an important character in local mythology, such as a shaman or priest. Still, despite all these scientific explanations, the alien theory remains a popular and intriguing part of the Nazca mystery, continuing to fuel people's imaginations. The scientific community agrees that the Nazca Lines were created by the ancient Nazca culture. Radiocarbon dating and archaeological findings show that the lines were made between 500 BC and 500 AD. The real question is why they were made. German archaeologist Maria Reich argued that the lines were a giant astronomical calendar. Some lines are aligned with astronomical events such as solstices and equinoxes. However, later research showed that not all the lines were made for astronomical purposes. In recent years, the idea has emerged that the lines may be related to water and fertility rituals. Anthropologists have found that the lines point to water sources and underground channels. Animal figures are also thought to be symbols associated with water and fertility. This theory centers on the belief system and geographical conditions of the Nazca people. The secret of the Nazca Lines lies hidden in the belief system of the Nazca people. They had no written language. Their beliefs are understood through ceramics, textiles, and these massive geoglyphs. Water, agriculture, and fertility were central themes. The Andes Mountains were considered sacred, and prayers for water and fertility were offered to the mountain gods. Prayers were made. The lines were part of massive rituals directed toward these sacred mountains. People would walk along the lines, asking the gods for water. The puquios, underground water channels, made agriculture possible in the middle of the desert. Many of the lines may point to these water channels. Animal figures were seen as harbingers of rain or symbols of fertility. For the Nazca people, these figures were sacred beings with supernatural powers. The evidence that the Nazca Lines were made by human hands is strong. Altars were found at the ends of the lines, along with ceramics and wooden stakes. These lines were not made for aliens, but for the Nazca people themselves, as sacred roads and ceremonial grounds they constructed. The ancient Nazca people may have held religious ceremonies by walking along these lines. The animal figures, like a labyrinth, allowed people to have a spiritual experience by walking a specific route. The enormous size of the lines is a sign of large and organized communities. According to some theories, different clans drew their own symbols to mark their identities. The straight lines, on the other hand, may have been roads connecting ceremonial sites. These works are a product of human creativity and social organization. Theories about the Nazca Lines each have their own strengths and weaknesses. The alien theory is intriguing but lacks evidence. The astronomical calendar theory applies to some lines but does not explain them all. The water and fertility ritual theory considers the geographical and cultural context. The orientation of the lines toward water sources and sacred mountains supports this theory. The idea that animal figures are linked to water and fertility also makes sense. Theories about ceremonial roads and clan symbols are supported by archaeological findings. Yet no theory fully explains why the lines are so massive and designed to be seen from the sky. Perhaps the real answer lies in a combination of these theories. The secret of Nasca still awaits to be solved. The discovery of the Nazca Lines began with airplanes, but their solution advances with modern technology. Satellites, drones, and artificial intelligence reveal new lines on the desert surface, invisible to the naked eye. In recent years, more than 150 new geoglyphs have been discovered. These new figures demonstrate the richness of Nazca art and symbolism. Satellite imagery and multispectral analysis allow us to map patterns beneath the ground. Technology provides new data on how the lines were made and which paths are connected. Recent discoveries strengthen the theories of water rituals and ceremonial pathways. Yet technology cannot provide a definitive answer to the question of why the lines were made. It shows us what happened, but the meaning remains a mystery. The door to Nazca is opening, but the mind behind it is still hidden. Despite all the research, the mystery of the Nazca Lines has not been fully solved. Every new discovery brings new questions. Perhaps there is not a single correct answer. The lines served different purposes in different eras. The lack of written sources from the Nazca culture deepens the mystery. Deciphering the symbolic language is like trying to decode a lost alphabet. Each figure could be a word, each line could be a sentence. Future discoveries may shed light on this secret. Maybe one day we will find the key to this unsolved equation. Until then, the Nazca Lines will remain a monument that pushes the boundaries of human knowledge. Their silence continues to be their greatest mystery. In the arid lands of Peru, a secret has been kept for thousands of years. When seen from the sky, enormous shapes emerge, still challenging our imagination. Were these lines a plea to the gods, a giant calendar, or perhaps a message to visitors from the stars? Science has proven that these shapes were created by the Nasca people using simple tools. Yet, the motivation behind undertaking such a colossal task remains a mystery. Each line stands as a silent monument to human intelligence and perseverance. Today, this heritage faces the threats of the modern world. To protect them is to safeguard one of humanity's greatest mysteries. The secret of Nasca may remain a mystery forever. Those enormous shapes lying in the silence of the desert are still watching us.